All right, so let's resume. Again, we have a very tight schedule. We have 10-minute breaks scheduled pretty often, but we'll need to make sure that we are resuming every segment on time because we will not slip. We have a lot of excellent presentations. So we want to make sure that we have 10-minute breaks, and about 2 minutes before the end of the break, we invite you guys back so we can start on time. Our next two talks are from the companies which are the co-organizers of this event. And I must admit that for me it's pretty unusual. By the Bay events, I produce them myself in San Francisco. I needed partners in Europe, and I was super fortunate to find two amazing companies. So IntellectSoft, I'll invite Nick Kurat, who is the director of Blockchain Lab. He is basically the catalyst of everything, including this conference. His specialty is catalyzing. So I met Nick when I worked in a co-working space in Oakland, California, and I was building my 2014 event, Scala by the Bay, right? And kind of my conference was young. I was essentially kind of one-man orchestra, and Nick was all the time in the phone booth conversing with his Ukrainian developers and partners around the world, moving multiple startups forward. So he basically, next time he came and fresh off the boat, he won like a pitch competition or something like that. So Nick is really the spirit of startups. He was instrumental in this, and IntellectSoft, that basically was fortunate to acquire Nick's company, right, has him as a director of blockchain engineering. IntellectSoft itself proved really strong partners. So the founders, Alexander Skolobanov and Artem, they went to Scale by the Bay last year, and they saw this engineering spirit and operation, and they decided to support us. And they basically fielded their team. So please meet them at the stand. They have the amazing people who helped build this. I want to please stand up, Artem, and so they are the founders of IntellectSoft, and Nick is going to tell us what is the basically enterprise use cases for blockchain and what's IntellectSoft take on this.
All right. Hello, everybody. Did you have a nice coffee break already? How's coffee? Who likes the coffee? Raise your hand. I enjoy this coffee. I mean, it's really good. So rarely would you find a really nice place with a good coffee. Sometimes they call coffee shops. You walk in and there's no coffee in the city still. All right, so I'm going to be talking today about some insights that we learned about blockchain development in the enterprise from our own experience. And for starters, let me introduce myself real quickly. Boom, so that's me. I've been in the IT industry for 14 years. In fact, the first company that I co-founded was at the age of 17, and it's not like a small company, as speakers are normally saying, like, hey, I started this company, which is a tech company, and it was like a little kind of crappy startup. It's a pretty fair-sized company. It currently has like 150 people in it and working with Fortune 500 companies or enterprises. So for these 14 years, I have been helping both service companies and product companies across the globe to implement enabling technologies. And currently, as Alexei already mentioned, I'm with IntellectSoft Blockchain Lab. I'm a director of that lab, basically leading the whole blockchain thing for the company. IntellectSoft Blockchain Lab, it's the department that helps SMBs and enterprises provide best talent when it comes to blockchain, cybersecurity, and cryptography. We are enjoying access to one of the pools in Eastern Europe, which holds the best guys in all of those areas. So that's a little bit about us. Let me, before we get to the overhype, let me ask some of the questions to the audience. So, who of you are actually working with technology like full-time? So engineers, like people that are working with technology. All right, that's good. Who are the managers then? Who's the manager? Okay, well, it's like 60%, 40%. We really appreciate both of the groups here because we're going to be talking here about like technological side of things, side of blockchain. So I think that would be important for both. Okay, so I am talking on a weekly basis, almost daily basis, to different companies that want to implement blockchain in their business. And so when you're talking to these companies, you recognize that they're totally sold on blockchain. So they heard, something about blockchain. They heard about some of the, benefit that it brings, and they're keen to implement it. They have like budgets and everything. They're like, shut up and take my money, right? Just do the thing for me. And when you start kind of talking to them and like, okay, what is your use case? We should check whether blockchain is actually applicable in your situation, whether it's going to actually help your business solve some problems that centralized systems cannot solve. You see that they're not educated on that, right? So they're just under the hype. The other guys, they are well aware of the pros of the blockchain. So they can totally name, okay, what exactly from the blockchain is going to help their business. But then when you're talking about the downsides of blockchain, some of the challenges, some of the limitations, they're not aware of that. We as technology people, and people that are focused on technology, we understand that to the deep extent. And so what I'm doing in those talks, I'm basically like to say, I'm de-hyping the blockchain down to its fundamental value, right? The fundamental value is there, but then you have to educate people that, hey, blockchain is not solving every problem in the planet. It's not like a magic wand that you just swing it, and then magically all of the problems that your business had, it just goes away. We as technology people, we recognize that there is fundamental value. There is certain level of hype, and we have to work towards like de-hyping that and making that magic happen for these people that don't understand what it is about. So what is the blockchain fundamental value? As technology people, we understand, because we know what's under the hood, what is the fundamental value, right? So we understand the technology lies behind it. So that's why we can understand that. So there's a saying that Don Tapscott said. He's a co-founder of Blockchain Research Institute. So he said, in 2017, blockchain and cryptocurrencies became too big to ignore. In 2018, they will become too big to fail. And while I don't enjoy people putting blockchain and cryptocurrency in the same basket, I'm actually really with Don on on his thought that blockchain is actually becoming too big to fail. Gartner just last year released this report. It's a forecast about the interest and the growth, the business value growth that blockchain is going to make in the upcoming couple of years. And so we see here that the interest is still growing. It's still growing. It's going to be growing for a couple of years. But then at a certain point of time, when people kind of start understanding stuff and kind of de-hyping, they will lose interest. But the business value will keep building up. And eventually it's going to come to what Gartner is estimating to $3.1 trillion, right? And so obviously at that point, the interest of the people in blockchain will come back. No matter whether you believe this is accurate or not, some may have some questions about these numbers and things, but what we can totally say is that it's not just the sheer interest that we are seeing in blockchain technology. Industry leaders are actually seeing a true technology shift in blockchain and DLTs in general. So I recently bumped into the blog post of Matteo from Essentia, where he was talking about like the adoption, right? What blockchain projects are out there. And so he basically named like 50 of them or more than that. And he was kind of arguing, okay, so guys, there's a lot of different blockchain projects out there, like in production working. I went through some of them, and they're like, not a lot of them. They're in real production, right? There's definitely some of them that are used by a limited number of users, but like it's not quite there yet. Outline Ventures, they have this whole tracker that is available on their website. They're tracking enterprises. They have a list of 300 enterprises. You can find it on their website. So it basically tracks the engagement that each enterprise, each of the ones in the list, has with blockchain. And what type of engagement is that? Is that a POC? What kind of technology they're using? It's pretty helpful. But then when you go through it, you figure out that it's actually POCs too, right? Very few companies, especially when it comes to enterprises, have something in production that is actually working, full scale. These companies are actually playing with and investing or engaging with blockchain and DLT, but not like on a large-scale basis. So what I wanted to do today is go through some of the areas of improvement really quickly. I just have a couple of minutes left. So just to get through some of the areas of improvement where blockchain has to improve to be able to be introduced into the production environments of enterprises. Because it's not there yet, let's be honest. We're all technicians here. We don't need to bullshit each other, right? So a couple of things that I've noticed. I understand that there may be more. For instance, scalability, transaction per second, it's not there yet, right? Everybody's working on it. Everybody's, doing the marketing around it. But like transactions per second is not there. Performance is not there. Complex querying and data structures. Only simple data structures and simple queries can be done on the ledger right now, and it's not enough for the enterprise. Computation limitations. Team scalability is another one. So it's not just the technology scalability, but also people that you are able to hire from the market. When you go to all these like rare, uncommon, unfamiliar technologies for the enterprise, or let's say limited, like Rust, like Haskell, right? Like Golang, there is no way you can hire on the large scale, hire these guys into the team and have it in your enterprise. So that's why enterprises are freaking out because of this. Next thing is maintainability. The community is fragmented. Everybody's making their blockchain. I was really appreciating what Chris just said on his keynote, because he said, like, it's time to unite. Everybody is doing their own thing, and smart people are basically scattered around all of these different blockchain projects. And imagine if we could take like half of those guys, put them into one room, and just work on the same standard, same protocol. Where would we be by this day if that would have happened? System versioning, migrations, continuous improvement. As engineers understand that these are the kind of sensitive areas. Dynamic configurations. People are forking entire blockchains for just one thing to change. Like for instance, to change the block size. You need to make a fork because it's hard coded into the ledger. So there's no ability to actually dynamically change the configurations. Smart contract updates. People lose money with smart contracts if it's buggy, right? So if it's not there yet. So interop with existing legacy systems. There are a bunch of them in the enterprise. You cannot roll everything out on the blockchain. That is not happening. You're going to be doing that module by module. So it's really important to have that interop between the legacy systems. Cross-chain interoperability as well, right? So if you have multiple chains, how do you put them together? Fast forward, cost of ownership. I mean, that's a big one, right? Infrastructure costs. Blockchains, the technology is getting more and more demanding on that. The team, we already talked about it. New functionalities, integrations, that's adding up to the cost as well. So it may feel as if you were walking on the minefield when you're developing blockchain in an enterprise. There's so many pitfalls that you can get into if you don't use the experienced people, if you're not using some of the best practices, or the people or the best practices are just not there yet, right? So cost of error at the same time is really high, because if you do something wrong, the budget's allocated, the expectations set of the enterprises, it all hurt. People are trying to rush with blockchain, enterprises are trying to rush with blockchain. I'm coming originally from Ukraine. Who recognizes this thing? Chernobyl. This is a nuclear power plant that basically exploded as a major disaster. It's like 10 times more than Fukushima, and so it's a nature disaster on the whole planet, because the latest innovation technology of the time was rushed, right? And the team, they had their plans. So the cost of error is super high with blockchain as well. Imagine having your online banking running on blockchain and something going wrong. Nobody will give nothing about what platform you're running it on. It always worked, and nobody cares if it's centralized solution or a decentralized solution. So all in all, we will be talking about this more on our workshop. Is this happening at 1 p.m. right behind the screen? You're more than welcome to come on. We're going to be talking about the rest of the slides that I skipped. So the rest of the kind of bottlenecks that enterprise has with blockchain, with real-life implementations and POCs as well. We're going to cover some of the best practices we use in Blockchain Lab, in Intellectsoft Blockchain Lab, some of the workflows we use internally. This is actually the first time we're sharing that publicly. So you're gonna like it. And then we're gonna share also the way how we choose which blockchain platform to use for any particular project. So you don't want to miss this. Thank you very much. That's me. If you can connect to me in the social networks and LinkedIn, I'll be sharing all of the links that I had in the presentation. I'll be sharing the presentation as well. So make sure you connect and you'll get access to that. And see you at the workshop. Thank you.